While we're waiting, just so the board knows, so we're going to have a member of Kentucky State Police at the board all day today. We're live. Okay, so we're now live. If Chairman, if you want to start us off.
Good morning. My name is Ben Chandler. I'm the chair of the Kentucky State Board of Elections, and I want to welcome everybody this morning to the final day of what is, I'm certain, the most unusual election in any of our lifetimes. Hopefully we will have a smooth day today, and I want to commend everybody, county clerks across the state and the staff of the State Board of Elections in particular, everybody in the Secretary of State's office for all the work that's gone on so far. It has been unusually good. The results that we've had so far as any of us know, have been excellent. And I hope everybody's got a big chunk of wood that they can knock on close at hand. For today is the culmination of all of that effort. The polls have just opened in the eastern half of Kentucky. We are about 5 minutes after 6 a.m. And as I say, we're looking forward to a big day. I will call the roll right now of the Board of Elections. We have a number of members. I can see enough for a quorum, and I'll start on my screen. All of us, of course, are doing this virtually because of the pandemic. And we'll start with you, Sherry.
Good morning, everyone. Sherry Whitehouse, member Bullitt County.
And we've got Lynn Lane.
Good morning. This is Lynn Lane, a retired clerk from Ballard County, Kentucky.
Corey Skolnick.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Corey Skolnick, member of Jefferson County.
Deanna Brangers.
Good morning. Deanna Brangers, member Jefferson County.
And Dwight Sears.
Good morning, everyone. Dwight Sears, member Pulaski County.
Thank you all for being here. We also have our executive director, Jared Deering, and our assistant executive director, Karen Sellers, who has just put her mask on. And we have
Taylor Brown.
There's Taylor Brown. I have trouble recognizing some people with their mask on, but yeah, I can tell that's Taylor in the background. Sheila Walker is obviously on this call as well. And I don't know if the Secretary of State is or not, but if he's not, we'll certainly see him during the day and wish him and his office well. With that, I will say that we do have a quorum, and I will start with the first agenda, essentially on the agenda, the first item on the agenda, and that is approval of requests for additional precinct officers pursuant to KRS 117.045(6) for the November 3rd, 2020 election. And it looks like we've got one in Metcalfe County to ratify. Jared?
So this is a very typical request on election day for an additional precinct officer in a location. Obviously, due to the changes in the laws of this election by administrative regulation, we've changed some of them. However, in Metcalfe County, they're asking for an extra poll worker. Their reason is the precinct is in town and is a very large precinct, expecting to have a large turnout.
And we just need to ratify that, right?
This just came in, so this will be an actual vote of the board. Not
all right, for approval.
Yep.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
I make that motion, Ben.
Motion by Lynn Lane. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Deanna Brangers. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Very good. It passes. Next item on the agenda is approval of requests for emergency precinct officers pursuant to the KRS 117.046(5). also for the November 3rd, 2020 general election. And this one is for Madison County. Jared.
So in this case, Madison County is actually short a poll worker. They are having an independent serve as a Democrat so that they will have party parity within the precinct itself. There will be a Democrat at that location, but there will also be an independent and 2 Republicans. They've also asked for an independent to serve as an extra. This will also be an approval of the board, not a ratification.
All right, very good. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion.
Motion by Sherry Whitehouse. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Deanna Brangers. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Do we have any opposed? All right, very good. Both small items are approved. And with that, Mr. Executive Director, I'll turn it over to you, and maybe you can give us a little bit of a rundown about where we are in the election so far and what we can expect for the remainder of the day.
Certainly. So as of yesterday, we are roughly at 1,025,000 voters that have voted early, both at the offices and the vote centers that the counties have stood up and have done an absolutely amazing job with facilitating over the last 3 weeks. Obviously, this is the first time for Kentucky to have 3 weeks of early voting, including 3 Saturdays. We, on average, had about 54,000 voters every single day. We had a couple of spikes. First day of open early voting, we had about 100,000 plus. The following Monday, we had another 100,000 day. And then yesterday, we also had another significant day. So early voting has been highly successful. It looks like a lot of our neighbors and members of our community took advantage of that. For absentee voting, we had roughly 657,000 requests. Of that number, as of yesterday, we were at 590,000 had been returned, which obviously is a pretty good number prior to Election Day. So we believe when it's all said and done, between 93 and 95% of those absentee ballots will be returned to the county clerk's offices by Friday, which is the deadline for those to arrive. So the good news, however, is that tonight, when the county clerks release their election results, they'll be releasing all of their in-person early votes, all of their in-person election day results, and then all of the absentee ballots that have been tabulated up to this point. That should, if my calculations are correct, probably give us what will end up being about 97+% of the total vote. So I think most races should be able to be called in this election tonight, potentially, all but the closest. And I will say that in every election we've ever had, any close race was never called on election night. Obviously, no election technically is called on election night because we have unofficial results that come in, wait for the counties to certify roughly a week later. They will still continue to count military and overseas ballots, absentee ballots that come in until Friday, and then ballots that need to be cured from the voter if there's a signature mismatch or a ballot irregularity.
Jared?
Yeah.
Could I ask you a question very quickly? What does can you put this in perspective in terms of the number of people? It sounded to me like we're bumping up on about 1.7 million votes cast so far.
Yeah, so we're over 1.6 billion votes. And the turnout models that we're working on right now, I believe that roughly 2.2 million people will vote overall in the entire election. So we're looking at about 600,000 votes today, give or take a couple of percent, just for variables. But again, it's 2020. If an extra 300,000 people show up to the polls, I'm not going to be incredibly surprised, just because a lot of these models are kind of based on traditional turnout models. So. But I think we'll probably be pretty close to 2.2, but that would make it a record turnout for Kentucky and the Commonwealth. The record for raw number is 2016 at 1.955 million votes total cast. I believe the by percentage record was in 2008 with roughly 62%. I think we will definitively break the all-time raw number, and I think we'll also potentially just eclipse the 62% on voter turnout for by percentage as well.
Is your prediction of 600,000 votes cast today, you think that's a conservative prediction? You think it could go above that? Is that what you said?
I think there's some potential it could go above that, yeah. But I don't think it'll be by a whole lot. But, you know, again, I also think it could be a little bit below that as well.
No.
We'll have to see. But that's my baseline right now is 2.2 million, and I think it could deviate by 100,000, give or take.
Anybody else have any questions of Jared? All right. You say that, as I understand it, the absentee ballots will all have been processed. The ones received up through today, you think will all have been processed by the end of today?
Yeah, I've talked to several of the counties. The biggest county in Jefferson, they'll still be processing today, and potentially up until the evening. At some point, they'll stop that processing and tally those ballots, and that will be a part of their official release. So my general estimation is we potentially could have as much as 600,000 absentee ballots counted and processed by the end of Election Day today. And then those would be released as part of election night results. At that point in time, of the 657,000 ballots that we sent out, my estimation is roughly about 625,000 or so will come back. And that would bring us up to about 95% return rate, which is a pretty solid national average.
So if I've got my figures right in my head, you think there'll be about 2.2 million total votes cast. And of that 2.2 million, only about 25,000 will be left to count by the end of today.
Yes, that's correct. And those votes will trickle in over the next week up until Friday, at which point the counties will do a second release of election results that will account for any ballots that have been tabulated up until Friday. And then by Monday, all signature cures have to be finalized. And then Tuesday, the counties will present their certified results to the Secretary of State for the Secretary to provide to the board for our certification process. So all total results should be in by Tuesday as certified results. The second release should be Friday. That should cover probably 99.99% of all votes cast. And anything but an election coming down to 1 or 2 votes should be able to be called at that point.
Well, assuming that things go as they've gone so far, and that is without any major hitch, it's just remarkable the job that you all have done. In particular, your coordination of this, Jared, has just been outstanding, and the work of these 120 county clerks, I can't say enough about it, because as mentioned before, if there's anybody watching at this early point in the morning, it's just remarkable what this election is like no other, in that these clerks have had to change their operation in such a way that they have accommodated a massive number of absentee ballots. They have had to allow a curing process of those absentee ballots. Any that were sent in with something wrong with them, attempts have been made to cure those ballots. And I want to ask you about that in a minute. And then, of course, they've had to deal with 3 weeks of in-person balloting, which has never happened before. And now they've got an election day in most counties with a precinct situation unlike ever before. So it really is quite a remarkable thing. Just to do this at all under these circumstances is remarkable, but to do it as seamlessly as these county clerks have done it is, not enough words really available to say how impressive a job it is.
I can't echo your sentiment about the county clerk's work and the job that they've done over the last several weeks and literally months. I think a lot of people don't realize how much work gets put into an election. For most voters, they show up on one day, their ballot is given to them, they cast it, they're in the polling location for a few minutes, and they're done. That process, even though it seems simple to the voter, takes months of preparation and work, long hours. I know there are several members of our staff that had upwards of 70 hours that they put in last week. The clerk staff is the same as well. So I know that the clerks are doing an incredible job under very difficult circumstances, and they've really risen to the challenge on this. So we're hoping for another successful election like we had in the primary, the goal being that voters can vote safely and securely. And knock on wood, we had no reports of community spread for COVID-19 during the primary election. This election, it's been a little bit more challenging. We've had about 8 or 9 clerks' offices that have had COVID come into the office where they had to shut down some of their services. Thankfully, we were able to stand up to continuity of operations plans and get them going so that there was not really a disruption in early voting. So we're really in a good place right now. I'm really optimistic about this election, and a lot of that optimism is based on the hard work of the county clerks and the staff of the State Board of Elections.
Well,
Jared, may I interrupt just a minute,
yes,
Ben?
please, Lynn.
Excuse me. I just want to interject that let's keep in mind also that the conducting of elections is not the only responsibility county clerks have.
Yeah.
They have lots of others, and I just think, we need to remember that, but they put all that aside, at this time of year, twice a year, and concentrate totally on the conduction of elections, getting ready, the preparation for those. And like we said, this year has been like no other. So they really do deserve a lot of credit for all of their efforts and the extra time and they put in. Thank you.
No doubt about it.
One last little bit of gratitude. I'd like to thank the members of the State Board of Elections today, and I'll say it again at the larger meeting. You guys have done an incredible job of coming together as a cohesive group of individuals that all have different philosophies and thoughts of governance, but you all worked incredibly well together and have done a really good job of helping us shepherd this process through. And then, of course, the Secretary of State and the governor working as statesmen to come together to make this work as a whole process has been really encouraging to watch.
Well, when you look at it in the perspective of what's gone on in some other states around the country, it really is amazing what everybody involved in the system from top to bottom has done. It's just in a time of a tremendous difficulty with the pandemic, of political difficulty, the fact that we're as polarized as we are in this country. And we here in Kentucky have come together, Democrat, Republican, all have come together and said, we're going to have an election, one that's run fairly, one that's run safely. We've come to an agreement, and it's been administered in such a way to see that those goals have been furthered. Really is an incredible undertaking, and you've been the maestro right in the middle of all of it, Jared. You've been the guy stirring the pot and stirring it in a very effective way. Can you tell us a little bit about the cure process? Because that's another new process that we've installed in this election and put another burden on the county clerks, but it's a burden that attempts to further the goal of making sure that everybody's vote is counted.
Certainly. So the cure process is when someone submits an absentee ballot, oftentimes voters can make mistakes. We're all human, and those mistakes have to be accounted for. I'd like to start by saying that while it's a new process to the state overall, county clerks have been curing absentee ballots for years, as long as we've had absentee ballots. We roughly have about 1.5% of our ballots that are returned are by absentee. It's a very small number. And traditionally in the past, counties have gone above and beyond to reach out to voters, to contact them, to call them and say, hey, there was a problem with your ballot. You need to come back in and fix it, or it won't be counted effectively. But because of the large scale expanse that we had in absentee voting, the state made an official process. One that we thought added both a safety measure for the voters, but also a security measure. It's a process that also validates if there is a problem with the ballot. The state wants to know why. Why was there a problem with the ballot? We want to verify that if a signature wasn't matching, we want to verify that that was actually the voter that cast that ballot. So a cure method is both an enfranchisement tool to make sure the ballot can be counted effectively, but it's also a security tool for the state to be able to monitor elections effectively. So in this election, I will say that right now, as of yesterday, we had 590,000 ballots that have been returned, roughly. Of that, 2,900 and I believe 30-ish were 31 maybe were invalidated at that time. That would put us exceedingly below the national average of ballots that are invalidated by absentee or mail ballot processes. Of those,
can you say that again, Jared, just to put a fine point on it?
Absolutely. So roughly right now we're at about 3,000 absentee ballots that have been invalidated. That puts us exceedingly below the national average of ballots that are invalidated in a typical election. And I think part of that is twofold. One, some of the changes that were made in our emergency regulation that gave the county boards a little bit more leeway in evaluating this to make sure that they could tell that it was from the voter, they could match the signature. But if the voter put their signature in the wrong place, that wouldn't necessarily discount the ballot itself. So some of the rules that we put in place made for that to be a more effective process. But also I think voter engagement and the amount of media that voting by absentee mail has received over the last several months, I think has done a really effective job of teaching voters, one, that they have to sign and seal both envelopes. They have to return those in a timely manner. And I think that process as a whole holistically has done a really good job of keeping our numbers down. Of those 3,000 ballots, we're at about 1,100 that have currently been cured by the voter. So that means the voter was notified by the State Board of Elections or the county clerk, in some circumstances, both. And the voter was able to either send in a signature cure form, or if the ballot irregularity necessitated the voter to come in, they were able to come and vote in person and fix that problem. So right now we're at about 1,100 cures. My expectation is that number will continue to go up over the next week. And hopefully, we'll have a good amount of those that will ultimately be cured at the end of the day.
Lynn?
Yes. Will they continue to be cured until Friday?
So if it is a signature mismatch issue or a missing signature issue, those can be cured past Friday, actually, up till Monday.
Monday, okay.
So Friday is the date that all absentee ballots have to arrive back at the county clerk's office. As long as they have a postmark of November 3rd, they'll be counted. But if there's a signature mismatch issue or signature issue in general, they'll receive a cure form, at which point they can cure that up until Monday of next week. That being said, if it is a cure issue of a ballot irregularity where that person has to vote in person, today will be the last day for them to cure that. Now, while the state has been sending actual physical letters out to voters notifying them of these, we've also been emailing voters invalidations as well. And so if the voter gave us their email during the absentee application process, we've been able to do that. We will continue to do that up until almost 6 p.m. today at the close of polls. The thought being that if a voter receives that even 10 minutes before the polls close and they have an opportunity to get out to the polls and fix that ballot irregularity by voting in person, we'll do that.
Well, it sounds to me like we're on track to have a historic number of in terms of fewest spoiled ballots percentage wise. Is that correct?
It'll be far exceeding historic numbers of ballots not invalidated. Yes.
That's also a
great.
wonderful achievement.
Yes, it is.
And again, that's both, I think that is a measure of the work that the county clerks are doing, the changes the State Board of Elections made. But also, I think that the voters are paying attention, and they're trying to be as diligent as they can in filling these things out and making sure they're returned appropriately.
All right. Would you like to give us some indication of what we have in store for us the remainder of the day and how the board will proceed?
Certainly. We have one more. Sheila, are you online at this point? If you can unmute yourself if you're over there. I think Laurel County has one Board of Elections replacement that came in early this morning that Sheila's been processing that. So we're going to see if we can get that up. Karen, would you mind walking back and seeing if that is available and up?
We all received it via email.
Oh, you did? Okay, excellent.
Mhm.
Okay. So I don't have that in front of me, but if someone could read that in the email, and then if the board can vote on that, and then we'll move to your question, Chairman Jones.
All right. Would anybody like to take that on? If you all have the email, I'm looking for it.
It appears that it, yeah, go ahead.
I actually see two things that I don't think we discussed. One is the one that you mentioned in Laurel County, and then there's also another one in Clay County, I think, that we have yet to vote on. Is that
I think she said she received several faxes as the board was getting up and ready, so she probably submitted those at the same time.
okay? It looks like, let's see, we've got several. No, we've got a request from Laurel County for a Democratic member, it looks like. And I'm not sure what the Clay County one is. Can anybody tell? Does anybody want to try to address this?
Karen,
What, the one for Clay County?
Well, let's take the Laurel County one. Let's just do them both. Let's take the Laurel County one first.
Yeah, it looks like in Laurel County, there was a Democratic member who needed to resign due to illness. And then we received from the chairman of the Democratic Executive Committee in Laurel County a list of possible replacements, which contained 5 different names on it.
So historically, we take the name from the top of the list, and that is the person that I would ask the board to move.
All right, we have the list from Laurel County. If you all see it, it looks like it's a gentleman named Kenneth Finley, and I will accept a motion to approve that if anybody wants to make one.
I make that motion, Ben.
Motion by Lynn Lane. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Deanna Brangers. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Very good. That motion passes. Now, Clay County, would anybody like to tell us what's going on there?
Karen, were you able to grab that from Sheila?
She has it, but she didn't email it out. I thought she was sending it out. Let me go back and get it. But she did get something.
Well, I've got a list here, but it's unclear to me exactly what they're trying to do with that.
Let me go.
Yeah, I don't think the rest of us got that email.
All right, let me go double check. My apologies for this. These faxes literally came in as we were starting the meeting, so my apologies. I haven't seen this yet. Let me just go check real quick. If you can hold for a moment, and I'll be right back.
Okay, thank you.
What is presented to the board is Clay County. It's an emergency precinct request for officers. They have 13 precincts. They're requesting an additional officer or a replacement officer. So they were asking for a Republican and two independents to serve as Democrats in those 13 precincts.
So you got 13 precincts at issue, and they don't have Democratic representatives in any of those 13 precincts, and they want to replace them with Republicans, 11 Republicans and 2 independents. Is that it?
They are, let me double check just to make sure. They're asking for 1 replacement per precinct, which means that they have 1 Democrat and 2 Republicans, and they're asking to add 1 more poll worker, which would meet the 4-person standard for those precincts. So there will be a Democrat serving in those locations, just not 2. So full party parity would be met by the emergency request that is being requested to be voted on today.
Well, I know that Clay County is a big Republican county, but I would have thought they'd been able to scare up a few more Democrats somewhere in that county.
So Clay County decided at the kind of, not the last minute, but they were one of the last counties to be approved by the secretary and the governor. They initially had submitted a plan of having, I believe, 6 polling locations open, and their county judge and their fiscal court urged the replacement clerk to open up all of their precinct locations, which they ultimately decided to do. And I think this is kind of a ramification of running an election with full precinct locations open during a pandemic. It's hard.
So they really hadn't planned initially to open up all these precincts and ended up opening them up late in the game. And that's why they've had trouble getting enough poll workers.
That would be without having to talk directly to the clerk. That would be my assumption as of right now. But if they're asking only for 1 poll worker replacement in each location, that means they have at least 1 Democrat and 1 Republican. It looks like they'll have their second Republican as well, but not their second Democrat, and that's who they're asking to replace.
Okay, do we have a motion on this matter?
I'll make the motion.
All right, we have a motion by Member Brangers to approve the request from Clay County. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second by Member Skolnick. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, very good. It passes. Do we have any other matters, Jared?
No, not as of right now. I will say, just as a intellectual kind of thought, is that this is actually indicative of why we have every county had a vote center. So every county in this plan, I know there's probably some questions some people had. Well, if the county's going to open up all of their precincts, why does every county have to have a vote center as well? What we required is every county have at least 1 polling location where anyone in the county can go vote in that location. What we saw during the primary in some other states that tried to open up every one of their precincts is the attrition rate of new poll workers is higher than normal, especially during a pandemic. We've already had a couple of calls from county clerks where a couple of poll workers have called in saying they've now been quarantined. And so this was a safety net that we put in each county, which means that if poll workers didn't show up for that precinct location, they weren't able to open up in time, there was a fallback for those voters to be able to go vote at least 1 location in the county to be able to make sure that we were not disenfranchising anyone.
Very good.
Other than that, I think we are good for the morning opening session. Obviously, we'll be meeting as a full board at 1 p.m. If there are any emergency situations that arise, I'll text the full board letting you know individually that we'll have to come back into session. We'll set a time for that so we can all meet at the same time, and Alan will open that Zoom call for everyone.
Well, and I guess we'll officially stay in session and go into recess
Right.
until 1 o'clock, unless there is an emergency call that we need to act on something else. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
All right. Unless somebody else has a question of any sort or a comment, I will accept a motion for the board to go into recess pending the 1 o'clock meeting or an emergency call.
I make that
Motion.
motion.
A motion by Lynn Lane, second by Sherry Whitehouse. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Very good. We will talk to you all a little bit later today. And in the meantime, good luck to everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.